Hello everybody, this is Nojo from Thranda Design. We're sort of picking up where we left off in the previous video where we talked about taxi and takeoff. In this video, we've teleported ourselves halfway across the world, and we're going to look at climb, just kind of the normal climb procedures now that we have the checklist in for that, as well as cruise, and I want to talk a little bit about the dynamic instrument panel. So let's get to it. So we've just taken off, we've got the flaps retracted. I'm going to accelerate up here to 120. And let's get the autopilot on. So I'm going to set the heading bug, autopilot altitude select is already there. I'm going to go heading, VS mode, servos, and arm that altitude select. So it should level us off at 2500. So let's pull up the climb checklist. So show hide checklist, there it is. Normal takeoff. We also have a short field takeoff checklist. And so cruise climb. So talking about cruise climb, it says ice protection as required. So that can be inertial separator closed if we're not flying in the clouds, which we're good. Pedostatic on as needed. We're going to have it off today. Prop and boot pressure off. All right. Lights as required. So landing and taxi lights turn off. Also the ignition, I turned it on for takeoff. We're going to turn that off for climb. And airspeed 110 to 120. Propeller 1600 to 1900. We'll just leave it at 1900 for today. And then torque. Set the torque and observe the maximum engine limits. So at 1900, our torque limit is right here at the first red line. And we can see at 1800 RPM and below, our torque limit's actually that second red line at 1970. Cool. So that's our cruise climb. If we wanted to do a maximum performance climb, it's very similar, except we'd be 104 knots indicated up till 10,000, and then it decreases to 87 knots indicated at 20,000 feet. And for that, we want 1900 RPM and max torque as long as we're not above the ITT limit. Okay, so the autopilot's leveling us off. So let's go through the cruise checklist. Cruise. Ice protection, as required. Pedostatic heat, on when the outside air temperature is below 4, which it's a nice warm day today, so we don't need it. Propeller, 1600 to 1900. Let's go ahead and pull that prop back. I like 1750 as that's one of the cruise chart things. So I'm going to pull the power lever back to 1500 foot-pounds of torque, and I'm going to bring the blue propeller lever back to 1750, right about there. And if you're lazy, you can use just whichever comes first, 1500 foot-pounds of torque, 700 degrees ITT, or 350 pounds per hour fuel flow, which is a good rule of thumb. So propeller and power are set. Excellent. So, since I have you here as my captive audience, let's take a look at the instrument panel a little bit. So I'm going to bring up the pop-up, go to panel, and so here we have layout page and different panel presets. So I mentioned before the autopilot was a little bit hard to see if it's down here. Well, what if we want to move it? So we can go to individual instrument, and we can scroll the mouse wheel on here, or down here where it says active instrument, and we're going to go all the way to instrument number 40 is the autopilot. And when we do that, let's enable 3D panel edit mode. We see these green click spots show up, but the active instrument additionally has this special round one, and the cursor goes to 4 arrows. So that means we can drag it around. So I can just click and drag the autopilot to wherever I want to put it. I could even put it up here, floating in front of our face. So that's a great way to rearrange things and make the panel more usable, or just customize it to however you want, if you want to copy a real plane or just do what seems easier for you. So now if I go back to layout page and I change to a different preset, notice I didn't save that. So if I come back to this preset, the autopilot has reset itself down here. So individual instrument, autopilot. Oh, I also didn't mention we can adjust the X and Y values discretely here by using the mouse scroll wheel. But anyway, so we put it where we want, and once we're there, we say Save Panel Preset. It asks, are you sure you want to overwrite? Yes. So now we have saved that preset, and when we reload the plane or go to a different preset, our autopilot will still be here, which is great. So let's take a look at some of the other presets that we're including. So that's preset 0. Preset 1 includes the Aspen EFD 1000, which is really cool, little glass panel display, and also an angle of attack indicator. Panel preset 2 is just like the first one, except instead of GPS units, we have just old school comm nav radios, which is great. I really like that one. Panel preset 3, we've made quite radical. There's the EFD 1000 here. We've moved all the engine gauges from the top down to this column here, and this has replaced one of the GPSs with the the Reality XP GTN 750. So if you had that installed, you could activate the plugin by going to Plugins, Reality XP GTN, GTN1, and select GTN 750. I'm not going to do that for the moment. So let's go back to our panel preset. What if we wanted to put this autopilot back where it was? And we notice if we go to preset 1, the autopilot is there. So we can copy and paste things. So let's go to individual instrument. This location data, the XYZ tilt and rotation coordinates, let's click copy. So now we've copied this data. We go to layout page, go back to panel preset 0, which is here, go to individual instrument, select the instrument we want, the autopilot, and click paste. And that'll put the instrument where the other one was. So that's a really easy way to arrange things between panel presets from one to the other. And don't forget, click Save Panel Preset. Now the final thing that I want to talk about at the moment here is, what if we want to change one of these Garmin GNS 530s? Oh my gosh, sorry, I can't talk about GPS apparently. So GPS slot number 1, if I click on this, it becomes green and it highlights this. Go to individual instrument, click on GPS, and we can do the same XYZ coordinate stuff. But what if we want to change this from a 530 to a 430? Well, all we have to do is click on GNS 530, boom, it changes to a 430. However, notice there's nothing on the screen right now. That's because the system in the background still is treating it as a 530. So what we need to do is save panel preset, and then we go up here to developer, reload the current aircraft and art. It would pause for several seconds, but then once it reloads the airplane, we'll have the GTN 430 with the screen here, just like it is here. So pretty cool system, makes the panel very, very configurable. So, those of you who are familiar with the Caribbean might recognize where we are, but, we're going to save that for the next video. So I hope you join me on the next one, hope you enjoyed this one, and thank you. I will see you for a very interesting attempt at a very interesting landing.